Welcome to the Champions for the Bay guest series. Our special guest today is Dr. James Udy. James is currently an Adjunct Professor with QUT and Director of Science under Sail. He has previously been the Chief Scientist for Healthy Land and Water and Chair of an Expert Advisory Panel on Seagrass Monitoring for the Great Barrier Reef. Welcome, James. Now, a focus of your research is seagrass. So we know that seagrass is important for a healthy ecosystem and that dugongs love it, but just tell us how vital that it is.
Well, seagrass is probably the fastest growing ecosystem on Earth, so it has a higher productivity rate than a rainforest, and lots of animals, in fact most of the marine life that we rely on, whether it be recreational or commercial fisheries, need seagrass habitat to both for their nurseries and then eventually to grow. So crabs, fish, and then all the crustaceans, so if you like shrimp, you need seagrass, but also then of course the turtles and the dugongs rely on seagrass as their primary food source.
So we're hearing more and more about blue carbon. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, blue carbon is quantifying the rate at which carbon dioxide is taken up by marine plants as opposed to land plants. And because seagrass habitats are so productive, in fact they exceed the production rate of rainforest and high-value monocultures like corn and wheat farming. So any land-based agriculture can't actually produce and absorb carbon dioxide as fast as a seagrass habitat does.
We're sitting here on the edge of beautiful Moreton Bay, Quandamooka. How healthy are the seagrass beds here?
The seagrass in Moreton Bay are actually very healthy at the moment, and we're seeing some recovery in some places where the seagrasses were lost in the late 1990s. Part of the reason for this is it's been over 5 years now since a major flood event, and one of the biggest impacts on seagrass in Moreton Bay is catchment runoff and dirty water.
You were chair of an expert panel looking at monitoring of seagrass on the Great Barrier Reef.
For the last few years I've been working with Australian Institute of Marine Science and the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority to help them redesign the monitoring of seagrass on the Barrier Reef. And I guess with that there's a couple of challenges. One, because the reef's so large, so it's an enormous area, bigger than Italy, and yet we have to try and figure out how to monitor the condition and health of seagrass in that large expanse. The other is that we were challenged to look at both spatially where seagrasses were and which seagrasses were there, as well as if they were resilient to future changes. And the two that we focused on were climate change and the increase in the severity of storms and cyclones, which obviously rip seagrasses up, and then also catchment runoff, so the increase in floods and the quality of water running off catchments into the Barrier Reef Lagoon.
Citizen science involves using the public to collect data and assist in monitoring various science projects. Now, you've been involved in some citizen science projects all over the state and in fact over Australia.
Yes, I've been involved, or I guess passionate about citizen science because it involves and helps educate people for a long time, but I guess specifically and directly involved for the last 5 years, because in 2015 we started working with Earthwatch here in Moreton Bay to monitor seagrass. As part of that program, we involved both general community members could sign up for some of the trips. We did once a year professional development for high school teachers, and then we also ran a students' challenge in January where we took high school students from across Australia and got them to help us like research assistants in collecting the seagrass data.
So Science Under Sail is a passion where you educate the next generation of young scientists.
Yes, Science Under Sail started actually as a little bit of a family joke because we were sailing around Australia in 2012 and we wanted to have a name for our blog. And so we called our blog Science Under Sail because as we were sailing as a family, we were going to collect benthic habitat surveys every 50 nautical miles around the Australian coastline. And then jump forward 4 or 5 years, and when I was Chief Scientist of Healthy Waterways and we started working with Earthwatch, it just became the natural name to use when I launched my new science education business. So Science Under Sail really started in 2016 when I left Healthy Waterways as the Chief Scientist and started an education business working closely with high schools to really bring that field experience and fun back into education. So what I do is both holiday programs and customised school excursions. With the school excursions, I work closely with the schools to work out exactly which pieces of the curriculum they want the students to meet, and then we find field-based activities with hands-on experiences where they learn the critical parts of the curriculum, but my aim is for them all to come on my trips and enjoy the experience and not realise until the end of the trip how much they've learned.
So at Moreton Bay Environmental Ed Centre, when we have our STEM programs, James, you are always so kind and generous to come on board and help out the scientists. And I know from us to you, we always love the passion and the knowledge, the fun and joy, hands-on experiences that you provide to our programs. And we thank you for that. So now we're going to ask James some quick fire questions, see how he goes. Ready?
Sounds hard. Okay.
Favourite marine animal?
Is a dugong.
Favourite land animal?
Lizard.
What type?
Field neck lizard.
Most exciting place you visited?
Probably Alaska's glaciers in Alaska.
Next trip you're going to take when you can?
I think circumnavigating Tasmania.
What's the mantra that you live by?
I think learning has to be fun.
Thank you so much, James, and we would like to present you with...
Oh, thank you. You guys do such great work, so I'm very proud and privileged to be able to wear your Moreton Bay Environmental Ed hat.